if I could bring in life in, and I'm leaving, but if I could bring in life in and my husband can have another daughter and my daughter can have another, a sister, that would have been great, but then realizing that we both might not survive that, I made the decision.
It takes courage to be a guest on Dying to Tell You. To share such intimate details about such personal issues is vulnerable in a very special way. This week's guest is Caroline, and I so admire her willingness to share her story. It involves a sensitive topic of abortion. Caroline tells her story, and I think it highlights the difficulty of making any medical decision, but especially a decision that is so personal and heartbreaking. I think it also highlights the importance of treating these difficult situations with nuance and care that is often lost in the realm of social media, and probably media in general. So please listen with an open mind and an open heart to Caroline's story of heartbreak and hope. This is Dying to Tell You. Dying to Tell You listeners, are you feeling called to hold space for someone at the end of their life? If you're feeling drawn to support others through death, dying, and grief, the Iliff School of Theology's Death Care Collective invites you to join their 8-week end-of-life doula certificate course, beginning September 28th. You'll explore somatic practices, family systems, spiritual care, ethics, legal consideration, and so much more, all through the lens of justice and intercultural understanding. This course is limited to just 15 participants, ensuring real community and connection. Best of all, you leave with a certificate to serve as an end-of-life doula, equipped, supported, and prepared. Payment plans and sliding scale tuition are available. To learn more or enroll now, visit iliffdeathcare.com. That's ILIFF deathcare.com, or click the link in the show notes. Well, welcome, Caroline.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. Where are you?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa. Okay. Is it warm?
It's very warm. Yeah, we're already in the 90s.
Did I see that you were like on vacation or having beach time? I mean, I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, that's just all of our weekends.
Oh.
We spend a lot of times on boats or in the water, in the ocean.
Yeah, well, good for you. I wish I could. So let's maybe start at the beginning of what was going on that made you think something might be happening with your body.
Yeah. So I was about 17 weeks pregnant, just right there at that mark. And
how many years ago was this?
Oh, I'm sorry. This was March 2022.
22. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a 20-month-old at home. I was 17 weeks pregnant, and I went to send a text message to a friend, and the words that I was texting were not coming out the way that I was trying. And I kept trying to change the text, and it would not change. It's like I knew what I was trying to say, but my fingers typed it different. So I thought I was just really tired. This progressed a little bit more throughout that week. That was on it. My first symptom was on a Sunday. And over the next couple days, I realized I couldn't even read a book to my daughter. I understood what I was reading, but it would not come out the same way I was reading it.
Was this happening consistently? Like, did you stop being able to send texts altogether, or was it just that one?
It was getting really fuzzy every time I would try to send a text.
Okay.
And I quit trying to send text.
Okay, yeah. There you go.
It just started audio, audio messages, or, I did text a few friends, like, I feel like I'm having a trouble texting, maybe mom brain is what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept looking up pregnancy brain and stuff like that, just verify everything. And that Thursday, I was a massage therapist and I was also a massage and yoga teacher. So I went to teach a class of about 30 students, a class that I knew like the back of my hand. And I got there and my words were fumbling. I didn't know what I was trying to say. And so the more nervous I got, the worse it came out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of
So
course.
I pull out my own workbook that I wrote myself and tried to read it, and I could not read it. And I told everyone I must be nervous, and I just, in my mind, I'm like, am I like suddenly having anxiety? Um, so I'd actually finished my class by only performing the physical part of it. And everyone was still like, oh, cool. She knows what she's talking about, actually.
She's a mime.
And yeah, it was like I did the physical part of it and I left. I called my sister, who's a nurse. She's like, I don't know. I think you might need to go get checked in. And I went home that night. I was just going to sleep on it. And I went home that night and I Googled uh, brain tumor while pregnant. And it was,
Wait.
yeah.
What made you Google brain tumor while pregnant?
Well, I thought it was because I was kind of a hypochondriac to begin with. But
Okay.
I think intuitively, I was like, this isn't normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I could come up with was a brain tumor.
Okay. So you're describing all these things and I'm thinking she's having a stroke.
Yes.
And did you Google stroke while pregnant?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. And when I looked back at that day, I I was in the presence of 30 massage therapists, and I cannot believe one single person didn't think I was having a stroke.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we should.
I get sure. Yeah. No,
And
I get that. And it's been happening like way too long for you to be
yes.
having a stroke.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I did notice I did have more saliva in my mouth as well. And yeah, just a very difficult time speaking. So the next morning, I decided to go to the hospital and I checked myself. I called an Uber and my sister told me to take an ambulance. And I was like, I'll call an Uber. I don't want to be like dramatic about this.
It's the non-dramatic ambulance.
And so I go to the hospital and I look at the list that they have in the ER when you check yourself in. And the only thing that I could think of was aphasia was the first one. And I was like, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And even the guy that, came to take my insurance made a little joke about me coming in with aphasia. Like it just seemed so unreal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 37 years old at the time. And as soon as I got back there, I felt like I saw every neuro within the hospital within an hour. And I was immediately getting a scan of my brain. And then it was all validated with a scan that showed a big mass on my brain. However, because I was pregnant, they could not use contrast.
Right.
And so they can't see what it is. They can't see if it's a tumor or just a brain bleed or a stroke. They couldn't actually see. But it was right on my language center. So at first I cried tears of like, at first I was like, yes, finally someone is
An
validating,
answer. Yeah.
yeah, my experience. And I'm not just this nervous teacher or,
Right. Right.
um, and then it hit me like, oh wow, that's really big, and I don't know what's about to happen. So
Yeah. When did you I mean, you had an inkling the night before, right?
mhm,
Because you Googled
mhm,
brain tumor while pregnant, and then
mhm.
you go in, and then all this stuff happens. I mean, I can imagine, and I've seen some of this in the hospital. It's just kind of a runaway train. You say aphasia, they like whisk you back. They put you in the CT scan. Like everything's happening really fast. Do you remember the moment when the because I imagine at some point you heard mass or tumor or something. Was there a moment that you went, "Oh, this is a brain tumor"? And was it when a doctor told you that? Do you remember who told you?
Well, actually, so I went in to the hospital on the 18th, and the neuro stroke team was there. Uh, the neurosurgery team was there. There's also another neuro team, like a general neuro team that was there. And I actually didn't have, we could not, I was in the neuro ICU, but no one could agree with what was happening.
Hmm.
And we didn't, they were saying it could be a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke.
Yeah, right. There's a thing up there. They just don't know what it is.
Yes. And they could potentially do an awake biopsy, but they were nervous that the blood had coagulated so much that they wouldn't be able to get anything. So there was another idea that it may be ACV. I can't remember what that stands for.
CVA maybe.
Not that, it was something else. So my sister's on the phone, and when they are coming with all these ideas of what's
Hmm.
happening, she's just like, that sounds right. That sounds right. But everything was very, uh, it was very dramatic. And in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm still very calm and like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And all of this doesn't sound right, but I'm going to go with it. My thought was I really wanted to go with a stroke. Like, who wants a stroke? But in my mind, I'm like, a stroke,
Given all the possibilities.
yes,
Yeah.
I'll go for the stroke because the other ones that they were potentially talking about were worse, essentially. So, we came to the point where we said, do you want to have surgery and see if we can get a biopsy and maybe fail? Or we can discharge you with a hemorrhagic stroke. You can start speech therapy, see if the brain
Oh
bleed
wow.
will start to coagulate or,
Reabsorb. Yeah.
reabsorb, come back in 3 weeks. And I was like, I want to do that one because I wanted to
Ooh.
get my daughter.
Sure. Yeah.
Over the next few days, my husband, is taking me to speech therapy. We're canceling everything. I was very much like, I'm going to have my baby and I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom and I'm going to get through this. And I might not be able to talk right again, but that'll be fine.
Because you're just thinking and hoping
Yes.
this is a stroke.
Yes.
Okay.
So the days were going by. And we thought I was getting better day 1, day 2, and then it started getting worse again.
Mm.
And there was one day where I just couldn't talk. And I kept trying, and it was so frustrating to try to talk at this whole time. I would try to talk, and it was so frustrating that I couldn't. Um, and I was so exhausted. I just wanted to sleep, but my husband just keeps trying to talk to me, and I would pretend to be asleep so he would stop talking. And he knew, and I was trying to hide it, and he knew. And he's like, we got to go back to the hospital.
Mm.
And I argued. I did not want to go. I threw a little temper tantrum, and he packed my bag. He took me to the hospital,
Mm.
and we get in, and the mass had almost doubled in size.
Wow. How was it? How big was it to begin with?
It was about the size of a lemon.
Which is, I mean,
Yeah, it
in the
was.
size of, I mean, inside your noggin.
Yeah,
That's a pretty, and so now it's 2 lemons or
yeah,
like,
it was
wow.
huge. So there was no other choice but to schedule immediate surgery as soon as possible. I was near coma at that point. They
Oh,
said if he would
wow.
have brought me in any later, then I probably wouldn't have lived through that. I didn't know who the president was. Um, March became May. January became June. I wasn't able to, it was 2022 and I kept saying 2002. I could not get anything together. And I was like, let's just cut it open, get it out. I was not fearful of surgery. Everyone's freaking out. And in my mind, I'm just like, why is everyone freaking out? They're just going to cut me open and fix it, And that's when I woke up. I was so happy because I woke up and I was able to speak again. Like immediately after I opened my eyes, I was able to speak.
And I wake up on the 10th floor. I get up, open the door. I look down to the floor. This is a daily chore. I love my 2 hours sleep, 'cause it can help me keep a little sanity while I'm counting sheep.
Do you remember all of the confusion and stuff? You remember being confused?
Yes.
Wow.
Uh,
And did you realize what was happening? Did you realize they were about to take you to surgery?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I was fully aware of what was happening. Even in speech, when I was in like speech class, there was some stuff that she was asking me that it's like, she asked me do you have to peel a banana before you eat it? And I thought that was the craziest question I'd ever heard. And I could not come up with the answer. I thought it was a trick
Wow.
question, but
Mm-hmm.
I was fully like, that's a trick question. And I kept looking at my husband like, this is so silly. And he's
Mm-hmm.
looking at me like fully concerned. And I
Yeah, right.
kept making jokes out of everything. Like everyone is being so dramatic and it's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I'm always kind of a ditz sometimes. And like, I would always have an answer like this, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, no, you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So they take you to surgery, and then you wake up and you can immediately speak again.
yeah, yeah. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, it worked, and they wheel me to my room. It's very late. and I'm just coming out of this whole, brain surgery.
All right.
And they take me to my room, and I was throwing up all over myself. I remember that because of the drugs, and I couldn't sit up or anything. So I just keep puking on myself. And I remember going into my room, and I am so excited to let my husband know that I'm talking, and I'm just like jabbering. And he's standing there freaked out. I'm vomiting, but he tells me when everyone leaves the room, they found a tumor. It looks malignant. They don't know if it's spread throughout your body. And I said, okay, let's talk about it in the morning. I'm just, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. And I woke up the next morning. I had a friend that was a nurse at the hospital who had already been informed. It was like it was like I was a very popular girl at the hospital at that time. It was like their big case, and
sure. Yeah, I can imagine.
And I wake up and, I got these messages and I was able to read them. And I read, the first one I read when I woke up was, I'm so sorry, it's a tumor. And I was like, oh, yeah, he told me it's a tumor, and in my mind, I said, it's a glioma. That's all I could think is it's a glioma.
And you knew what that was?
Yeah, I did because in March of 2014, there's a girl that was in my neighborhood. I live in a nice little community of young adults, mostly. And this girl had been diagnosed with glioblastoma. She was right down the street from me. Her husband was friends with some of my friends, or they were friends with some of my friends. And I started working on her every week through her 2 years that she lived. And the second that I knew it was a tumor, I knew it was a glioblastoma. I did not think I had, some metastatic something else. I was very much like, this is going to be a primary brain tumor.
Was that just like intuitive? You just like knew it within yourself? You didn't have any?
I messaged her husband. I tried to wait a little bit, but he was already on my story. And it makes me think that he knew too what was happening.
Wow.
And I waited, but I had it ready. I went and talked to, his name is Ryan, and I'm going to talk to Ryan as soon as they come to me because I know it's a glioma. And when they came in a couple days later, it's a glioma. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That's the worst one. And they're like, well, it might be a 2. You can, keep your pregnancy with a 2. I didn't think it was a 2. And I said, what if it's a 3 or 4? And she said, we'll throw the kitchen sink at it. And it was confirmed at 4.
So they said a glioma, and you were like, "Dang."
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that? What is that emotion? What is that you were feeling at the moment?
I was just it was just such a bummer, and I never panicked. I still remain calm.
Okay.
But I was like, that sucks, like, why does it got to be a glioma,
it's such an understatement, but also, I guess you kind of had that in the front of your mind, really.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So it was just more like confirmation of what you suspected anyway.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between a 2, 3, 4? I don't even know. And I'm working in a hospital. So
yeah. So, gliomas are very fast growing tumors. If you were to catch it at grade 2, especially, I had this removal of the tumor, and it was almost a full resection, that's what you want more than anything else, is that full resection. If I was at a 2, I had this full resection, was able to make it through my pregnancy. The pregnancy is what complicated everything so much. But if I was able to make it through my pregnancy, then start taking chemo, I would have a chance to live much longer.
So it seems like the grading is just about how advanced or how progressed it is.
How progressed it is and how fast it is, I think.
Okay.
I remember specifically the doctor came in and she said, you can live several years with a 2.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's good, and
Yeah.
but I knew a lot about glioblastoma, and I knew that a 4 was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, a 3 or a 4, if you're at a 3, it's the same kind of, you've got to get in there and, get a resection if you can, if it's at a spot where it can be taken out, start the chemo, do the radiation, all the things. So I knew the lifespan of a 4. And that would typically be 6 to 18 months.
So when she came in and said, you can live several years with a 2, you already knew that 3 and 4 were less. I don't know. I guess I'm wondering, they say it's a glioma. You say, dang. And I'm wondering, was that the point where you were like, oh, my life is going to be shorter than I thought it was going to be or had planned? Or was that something that was kind of in the front of your mind as well when you were thinking this is a glioma?
When I heard it was a glioma, I was like, yeah, I'm going to die soon, sooner than later. Mm-hmm. And I remained calm though. Everyone else was freaking out. My sister is a nurse, and when she freaks out, I'm like, get it together, but, one of my close friends, she's also a nurse, and she was, not okay. And, my husband, obviously, and I'm like, you got it. It'll be fine. It was just I just kept making jokes with my friends, like trying to, get them calmer and get them on my level. And, but I also knew that going forward, it was going to, like, every day after that was going to be the best day I could possibly make it.
Mm-hmm. What made you stay calm?
I just, I was definitely in shock. So that, of course, is a part of it, but I was never in denial. And I have never feared death. Like, that is one thing I have never feared. I did fear leaving my 1-year-old.
Yeah.
That's at home. That's like, of course, that's all I cared about, was who is going to love her as much as I do. There's no one out there in the world that can love her as much as I do. That was my biggest grief at the moment. If I did not have my daughter, and if I was not pregnant, it wouldn't have been so terrifying, because I have just never been afraid of dying.
Why not?
I think it's because my mom raised me to not be afraid of death. And we have always talked about My mom believes in reincarnation, past lives. She remembers one of her past lives. She also she died during childbirth a year before me and was resuscitated and saw the light, and I believe her completely. But she raised me telling these stories. And so I've always thought, so cool that you get to have these multiple lifetimes and that souls come and go. And that's just a big part of how I was raised. And then I really started getting into more Buddhist teachings when I was in my early 20s and just reading a lot about that and its, impermanence. And even when I was young in school, I used to always tell people everything's temporary, and it's fine. And I just grew up very, very much understanding that everything is temporary and being okay with impermanence. And same for death. I don't think it's a scary thing. I think it's a beautiful, it's just as beautiful as birth. I think it's a very, I don't know. I think it's a very beautiful thing.
I mean, what a gift for you to have grown up with those kind of messages about death and dying. It's interesting because I think a lot of religious teachings, Christianity in particular, the one that I grew up with, in theory should be really comforting about death as well, right? Because it's going home, it's meeting the all-loving God, it's heaven, seeing all your family again. I don't think that I don't think that I've ever internalized it in that way, and I don't think a lot of the people that I meet who are coming to the end of their life, who are Christians, well, I don't know. I think maybe that it's still the saying goodbye, but the impermanence of everything. If you're on board with that, then you're already kind of holding everything lightly and allowing it to come and go as it does. And so, what a gift for you. And also, I can imagine that what you were saying about leaving your daughter would just be heart-wrenching. You're feeling that too?
Oh, of course. So that's the hardest part. That has been the struggle from the beginning. And so I was officially diagnosed with glioblastoma at 20 weeks pregnant.
Okay. Well, did you know what grade it was yet?
Yeah. Officially GBM, grade 4. They don't stage it. It's graded. So grade 4, I'm 20 weeks and have my 20-week scan 2 days later, I had just had so many MRIs with my baby that, had a good, I don't know how long. I think it was 8-hour surgery with my baby. And then I went and saw the 20-week scan and tried not to get too attached, knowing that this might not work. And I was told from the team, they would not come out and tell me what I needed to do, of course. But they said, basically there was no way to make it work where I could do the chemo or radiation. And ideally you would want to have radiation about 4 weeks after surgery. And the radiologist said he would not even offer it if I waited until after I had my baby because it's too long at that point. It would be pointless, is what he was saying. And the chemo, I obviously could not take with my baby. And I had a bleeding tumor, which was another thing, that my tumor was bleeding. The hormones were driving it. So in my research, I started looking into, that night that I Googled brain tumor while pregnant, I learned that 1 in 1,000 women with cancer will, or 1 in 1,000 women who are pregnant will get cancer. And our hormones can drive that cancer. So I knew that, I'm at 20 weeks. I tried to talk to the OBs and see how early they would take out the baby. And they said 37 weeks. And there was no way to make it work. I tried everything to make it work. I was coming up with a lot of ideas. And so I did go to get a second opinion. And there at that second opinion, I passed out and had to be taken back to the ICU. And I was like, this is it, and I was able to talk to my surgeon, who reminded me that I do have a little girl at home, which I knew that, but I just needed someone to kind of help me make that decision because it was so hard. If I could bring a life in, and I'm leaving, but if I could bring a life in and my husband can have another daughter and my daughter can have another, a sister, that would have been great, but then realizing that we both might not survive that if I don't do it, I made the decision to terminate.
Yeah. Which I can only imagine was heartbreaking.
Yes. Worst.
Devastating.
Yes. Worst pain I've ever felt in my life, emotionally.
It's one of those things that I think a lot of people don't think about when we're talking about termination of pregnancies. I mean, I imagine that there are going to be people that are listening to this who are adamantly against abortion. And there are probably people who are listening to this who are adamantly for people being able to get abortion at any time. But the reality is, so, in the discourse, political discourse, there's just these theoretical things that are happening in the discourse. This is the reality of for a lot of people.
It really is. And I even said to my husband, while we were having this done, I said, can you imagine if we lived in a state that did not allow this? We would have to try to drive over we're in the South, so we'd have to drive over how many states to get this done by a stranger. But you can't do that from the ICU. You can't do that right after you just had like a craniotomy. And I couldn't fly. There was no way I could fly with my head in the shape it was. So, and that was just like a few weeks before Florida changed everything. And I didn't even foresee what was about to happen with the
Wow.
country.
So if you had if it had been just a few weeks later, you and your baby both would have died.
Probably, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Did you have before all this happened, would you have said anything at all about somebody's ability to terminate a pregnancy?
I've always been for women's rights over their own body. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what else to say except I'm so sorry that it was the way it was. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you had the ability to do what you needed to do when you needed to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. And I felt very supported. And so, I mean, just incredibly supported, because I actually came out and told my whole story, because people knew I was pregnant. People knew I was having brain surgery. I had to tell people what's happening. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to share it, I'm going to, or if I've been sharing my story, I'm going to share this part too. This is really big. And I felt a lot of support. So luckily,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. And I think that's a big part of the reason why it's so just filled with anger is because there's not a face to the thing that we're talking about. And so when you can depersonalize the issue, it's really easy to demonize. But when it's a human who's going through this thing, you can look them in the eye. It's really hard to be so mean because this is a torturous decision. This is not something you went into frivolously. This is just about doing what you need to do to save your life and be around for your family as long as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're in the hospital. You made the decision to terminate your pregnancy so that you could start radiation immediately, I assume.
Yeah. So you need your scar to heal. You can't go too soon, but they were like, we got to get you in as soon as we possibly can. I had my termination, which was a 2-day process. I got home late at night that Sunday or Monday. Yeah, it was a Monday. Got home late at night and had to be back the next morning to get fitted for my radiation mask. I mean, like, that's how fast they got to get on top of this cancer. So the next morning was fitted for my radiation mask. And as soon as my scar healed, I began my 30 radiation treatment. And chemo.
That's so many radiation treatments.
To your brain, it's pretty, it's wild.
Yeah. It's just, that's a lot. So daily radiation for 30 days or something like that.
Every morning, my husband would walk me out to the truck. We'd get in the front of his truck and start a brain tumor podcast from episode 1. And that's what we would listen to on the way to and from the hospital every day, learning as we were going. That's where our lives totally changed. And I went from being a geriatric pregnancy to a pediatric tumor. I actually had the mutation of my tumor is pediatric. So I was just, everything changed so fast.
Yeah. How was the treatment for you?
Not too bad. I slept a lot. That was the main thing. Luckily, it was a pill and it worked. So the chemo is a pill. I'd take it at bedtime. Once I got through the 30 days of chemo and radiation together, I had to start doing 5 days on, 23 days off of high dose chemo. And yeah, I just slept a lot, forgot a lot.
Okay.
I hardly remember.
Yeah.
I hardly remember the first year. And when I see photos, I'm like, I don't even remember that. It's so weird to like look at all the stuff I don't remember that happened. But yeah, it's just getting through. And every day my goal was to, just make sure that in some way I got out of bed and got some movement in me. I was a massage therapist and yoga teacher. Like I have always been so active, and I've always thought that activity is like what saves us. And having my 2-year-old here during that whole time, I had no choice but to get up and move. And yeah, so I think that's where I started to really heal myself, was getting out and walking every day, start exercising again. It was also interesting because when I was having my procedure with my baby, our hospital is on the water. It's really pretty. I mean, it's like the best hospital view. Labored my baby there as well, but it's like water, and you can see the a sidewalk where everyone is exercising. Like every day, all people are doing are exercising on that sidewalk. And I remember looking at it and I'm like, I'm going to get back out there and I'm going to be exercising on that sidewalk, and like, as we were doing it, like this, I'm going to make it. This is going to be where I'm at. And they offered a very short prognosis. And I said, I wasn't in denial at all. But I also said, I'm going to be a 5-year survivor, because we talk about the 5-year survival. 5% makes it to 5 years. And I said, I'm going to be in that 5%. I'm going to be in that 5%. And I don't know if that's actually going to be true, and that's fine. But just that became my mantra. I'm going to be in that 5%. So
I appreciate the way that you said that, because so many times people say they gave me whatever, they gave me a year to live, they gave me 6 months. But like you said, the reality is they're offering an opinion. I mean, it's an informed opinion based on statistics and experience and what everybody else has done who's in, your situation. And still, I mean, doctors are famously wrong about this all the time. And the thought of just your perception of it as they offered this as that's what we think, and you just saying, well, thanks but no thanks, I would rather live 5 years. I think that not that is going to make it true just because you said it, right? Obviously that's not how it works. But if they offer you a prognosis and you should just accept it, it probably does, for sure, changes your mindset. And I don't know if it would actually change the length of your life, but it certainly changes the way that you live the life that you have. Is that perception something that you've heard, or just something that you made up out of your brain, or what? How did you come to saying offered my prognosis? It's interesting.
Yeah, that's just how I guess my brain works. Yeah.
So how long has it been since they offer you a short prognosis?
3 years. 3 years.
The prognosis was shorter than 3 years?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they offered, but you did not accept.
Nope. No.
I appreciate that.
You know it's cold in bed. The world, it feels so sad to me. Stay with me. It's been a long day. Stay. I know I hurt you bad.
You know, my daughter, just like spending time with her is like the best thing. Making a lot of memories for her. Immediately, so I was afraid I would lose my voice again when everything was over. Because sometimes during radiation, your brain doesn't make it, through the radiation. I was afraid of my speech being impaired again and not being able to say what I want to say. So I started immediately ordering like Build-A-Bears and, recording my voice into them. Picture frames that record voices. And then going through her books and writing messages in her, children's books. Once I was able to actually use my mind again and process after radiation, because I was like, whole thing, like it was probably a year before I was able to like really put things back together. I started writing, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's been like the thing that I always wanted. I always wanted to write a book, but I never had time for it, and
Yeah, of course.
such BS. I always had time for it. I just time it,
Yep.
I took my very first online writing class. I had never taken a writing class before, but I've always been a bit of a writer. And I wrote a book. And that was the first one, was like me kind of moving through my life. And I did like this life review that I didn't even understand was more common than I had. I had never heard of it, but my body was like guiding me through this life review, starting at a very young age, where I started to make sense of all the pieces of my childhood and then my young adult life and through my 20s and starting to understand like what the meaning of my life was. And I wrote a whole book where it was more of a purge. And I said, oh, I just got it all out. And that was kind of like my practice of getting stuff out and practice of writing. And then finished that and said, well, I don't want to do anything with that now. I just needed to let that come out. Started a new book. And I said, this one's for my daughter. And started sharing the highlight moments of my life and thoughts about all sorts of things that my mom shared with me. And because I think my mom always had a good way of raising me and just a very simple way of opening my eyes. And I've always wanted to be a mother to a daughter so that I could share that with her. I wanted to make sure I got all the points in that my mom shared with me and got some of my highlight moments in so that she knew that story and she knew it from me.
Right.
that was
Right.
my other fear is like, well, what happens? Like, who will tell my story?
Yeah.
And so that's how I spent a lot of my free time was writing that book.
Mm.
And I had this idea to publish it, but then I thought, I'm not done yet. So I can keep adding to it. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe if that time comes, my, someone else can publish it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be here for the hurrah. I
Yeah.
just want to get
Yeah.
it out. And so I'm going to keep writing it instead. I don't want to end and I don't want the book to end. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to come up with lessons along the way. And
One of the first things I said when we started this podcast was that when somebody has a serious illness or a terminal diagnosis, things start to become clear about what's important and what's not. And thinking just about you writing for your daughter in the state that you're in, recognizing that your life is going to be short, I imagine that the things that you're putting in there are the things that are really important. Yeah, and that's part of the reason for having this podcast to begin with, is because there's so much to learn from people who have that kind of clarity. I wonder if you would just share one or two little bits that you're passing on to your daughter that you think people might benefit from.
yeah, oh, it's so funny because I was a very anxious girl my whole life.
Mm,
I had a lot of anxiety and I had a lot of trauma growing up. Um, but when I was diagnosed, all my anxiety went away. It's so funny to think that I lived for so long with this like debilitating anxiety. And now I'm like, oh, what was I so afraid about?
mm,
Like
mm,
the every day is so amazing if you could just get rid of this idea that we are doing. We're just here to do. And to understand that, like, the most important things are love, community, joy. Um, and as everyone always says, don't sweat the small stuff, but it's really,
mm-hmm,
I mean, it really, yeah, don't sweat the small stuff. It's
mm-hmm.
the thing I've said since I was diagnosed is every day is a gift. And I truly believe it. In the beginning, I would wake up in the morning, and I didn't know how long it was going to be. And I'd wake up and, oh my gosh, I'm alive. And I would
I'm
wake up,
alive today.
oh my God, I'm alive, and
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like I still wake up and I'm like, cool, like right now I'm looking outside, I'm watching the birds, I'm watching like life outside my windows. And I think if you come to this, what I call the in between, all the silly stuff just kind of falls away. Relationships will change throughout your life. They are going to be, that's a big thing that I want to share with her is it can be so heartbreaking when your friendships or relationships, family change, but it's a part of life. And just like death, it can feel like death. That's another thing my mom, oh yeah, it feels like death, but you're gonna be okay. It
Mm-hmm,
just that's a big thing that I want to share. But very good people who can look you in the eye when you're going through your stuff. Those are your people.
mm-hmm.
If they can be there for you while you are going through it, and you can be there for them and look them in the eye and share their pain, those are your people. And I have, created this circle around me now that I see my people.
Mhm.
And it's so beautiful to see and to be seen. And
Hmm.
I just feel like I wish I would have known that before and not let the other things come in, but it is what it is.
Every day is precious is a thing that we hear a lot from people who are nearing the end of their life, or at least see it on the horizon. But that's true for me too, even though I don't know that I'm dying. I mean,
You
it's not
are.
on the front of, but I am, right? And that's really the point, is that we all are dying.
Yes.
And if every day is precious to you, why isn't every day precious to me?
Right.
And it can be. I have that available to me right now. I can live that way right now if I just pay attention, right?
Yeah.
Um, so thank you for sharing those things. I think those are
Yeah.
really great, to see and be seen, to know and be known. I think that's just beautiful. You described it as the in between. Would you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I am a terminal cancer patient. My diagnosis, my, GBM does not go away. Like even if it's NED, no evidence of disease or stable, it's still there. Um, and it could take me out tomorrow, you know, and could be 5 more years. I don't know, but now I feel like I'm in this in between. My life that was before this is I am no longer like that person. I'm not no longer doing that job, or, you know, it's completely changed and I am in the in between of life and death. And
Mm,
to say that it's beautiful. It's like the most beautiful place to be.
mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that because, it's like, of course, it's a struggle and it's, you know, annoying. We
Annoying.
hear this diagnosis and going to the doctor all the time,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
also, I am seeing life in such a different, beautiful view. I do feel more in touch with myself, my people, my community, and I mean, my intuition feels stronger. But like you said, like clarity, yeah, I do feel like more clear besides like the brain tumor part of it. But I do feel like more clear on like what my life purpose is.
It's almost, I mean, what you're describing is what I think of when I think of enlightenment.
Yeah.
When somebody has, been on the spiritual journey and they come to a place of enlightenment, and then all that other stuff just kind of falls away, and love, community, joy, uh, knowing and being known, seeing and being seen, those are the things that matter most, and that's all. I mean, that's all you see. That's all you spend your time
Yeah.
on. Um, yeah. So the kind of before and after diagnosis of enlightenment, living life in a in between state, but more fully than ever before. It seems like.
I know it matters most.
Hmm.
Another thing that I've noticed, so I grew up in a very small town in Northeast Alabama. Had a very traumatic childhood, very poor and just rough life. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
this is not me as like, I've been a survivor my whole life. And, I used to not want to go home. Like I never wanted to go visit. I
Mm.
hated going there because memories and all of that. And it's so funny because last year we went back to my hometown 3 times. I love going back there now
Mm.
because all that went away. And I was like, I can't wait to show my daughter where I grew up and show her where I did this and that. And it's just so funny. I never think about these painful memories there anymore. When I go, I'm seeing like, oh yeah, like this is where I was like raised to be like this, and all those painful memories made me the strong person that I am today. Like I never had to go and all the therapy that I did for that kind of stuff, and I was like, oh wait, you just get like a terminal diagnosis and that's your therapy.
It's the magic. Yeah.
It just went away, and it was just really cool to process that and understand, like, I love coming home now. I love going back and visiting this place that raised me the way that I am. And,
Yeah.
having that concern of, anything where I was, oh, am I too much of this or not enough and this and that? And no, I am perfect. I am perfect I am who I am supposed to be. And I should have never spent so much time being concerned about who I am and
Wishing you were somebody else.
wishing I was someone else. And I tried that, and I hid a lot of my reality from new people after I left. I'd move around different places and try to pretend that I wasn't raised the way I was. And when I look back, I'm like, I wish I could have just embraced it from the beginning, but no regrets. But it's just a very beautiful way to like understand that I had everything I needed the whole time, and I didn't have to pretend to be someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me because, I mean, in some ways, nothing's changed, right? Like you were always going to die. So mortality was always there.
Of
And
course.
this realization was always available to you. And you got this diagnosis, and it really brought it to the forefront and helped you, like, brought this kind of enlightenment to you. But again, we're all in the same boat, and there's no reason why I can't have that same realization now. And I mean, I hope that by doing the work that I do and, interviewing people on this podcast, I am growing. I told somebody the other day that I love my patients. I love the people I'm interviewing, and all of this is for me. That my growth is really the most important, and and it's changing my life for sure. Yeah, it's so interesting. Nothing's changed in some ways, and yet the diagnosis just made you more aware of what was already there, what was already happening. It's like a theme in this season. It seems like, and I don't want to discount the devastation of the diagnosis and the devastation of the reality of the situation, but in some ways, the diagnosis for you and for several other people I've interviewed recently has just been a gift of enlightenment and helping you to live life in a more full way, which I think is really, I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
I really do think so. And yeah, it's changed me and for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say this and it's going to sound strange, but I'm so glad for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you are willing to share all this with strangers, because the giving other people the benefit of your experience is, I mean, I think that's a loving, kind thing to do. So I appreciate it. I don't know. I'm getting teary.
Well,
yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that.
thank you.
I want to kind of move to future orientation now. Like, what we've been talking for like an hour and 15 minutes. I don't want to keep you all day, but I want to ask about like how it is living with that kind of the looming tumor in the background. But I don't know if we want to spend a bunch of time on that. I want to talk a little bit about what you're thinking of as far as the future, and maybe you can work some of that in about living with the tumor and kind of making plans for what you're going to do and how you're going to live, but also making plans for coming to the end of your life. Have you done any of that?
Yeah. So we did that immediately. We started, because I was told to get everything in order. And we did that like right after my surgery.
Okay.
I think about it often. But it's changed, we've changed in 3 years. Like even the person who I'd want my daughter to be with, should something happen, even that has changed as the time goes on, which is great. We have to make different changes.
Adjust,
But yeah, I have picked out like my funeral. I made my own playlist. I picked out where I want to be. I found like a nature, one of the natural cemeteries here.
Oh, cool.
They have yoga there. They have death workshops there, and so it's a pretty cool place to be in. Like 45 minutes from our house. We did everything that we need to do. I have the one friend who is welcoming any sort of ridiculous requests for anything that I need her to do
for you
after I'm gone, and she's so cool about it. And I'm like, I need you to make sure that The Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony is played first
at your funeral.
Yeah. It's not all, but I like got her to I was like, I want you to make these notes that you send to everyone, and it's not all funny, but there is some serious stuff in there. I need to make sure that Lily gets a Easter basket every year that has a swimsuit in it, because that's what my mom did. And it's little things like that too, and finding the people that can fulfill that for you. That's been a big part of it. Beyond that, I live as if I'm going to be living another 10 years. Like I make plans, and we all know that those plans can change, but really it could change for anyone else too.
Exactly. I mean, I was just thinking the exact same thing. Like, of course, you live as though you're going to be living. That's what I do. And of course, I make plans, and of course, they could change at any time, right?
We will probably be booking our tickets for, Christmas before we know it, and we book the flights. We get the insurance now,
right?
Okay, but I make plans, and I think that's been a big thing late since the beginning. Is like I bought these tickets when I was so out of it during not radiation, but chemo. And I bought tickets, like $1,500 worth of tickets to see Joni Mitchell at the Gorge in Washington. And I'm like in Florida, and I'm like, it was past my expiration date, and I just went for it. And it was another 9 months out from where I was. And that was the first thing that like I made a big plan for way longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm just going to make the plan. And if I don't make it, I don't make it. But at least I have the plan to look forward to. And so being there at that show, which was the best show of my life, you know, but like it's when I get there, I'm like, look at me. I'm here, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just even more special. And so that's how we've been doing it. We make family traditions just like we would. We've started those. And I spend this time, the only extra stuff that I add is just like I am using my voice while I have it. I've become a lot more outspoken about things that I care about. If I feel very passionate about something, I'm going to share it. So
Yep.
I am at the most vulnerable space in my life, you know, and that also is just like the best feeling ever. I'm not hiding anything, and it's just like
Mm.
so much truth. And so just living like that and writing in that book when I can.
That's one thing I love about meeting people who have serious illnesses. There's very little time for bullshit, right? And it's just only important things are getting any time, and they are so often so willing to be so vulnerable, and counterintuitively, that is such a powerful position to be in. To be so vulnerable, to be so open, is just it's a strong stance, and I think it's misunderstood a lot of times. But you nailed it. Yeah, it's an empowering place to be. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ha 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 ha. Hands held high, raise them up to the sky. Never let them low. Only thought you should know. Hands held high, raise them up to the sky. Never let them low. Go, go. I got about 100 reasons to leave the party, but I will not. Got a lot of meaning to get to you when I'm in a spot. Thought about what's the season. Oh yeah, summer feeling so hot. I could burn in my slumber, turn the lights off and let the beat drop. I'm the meanest rapper, meaning I feed on rappers a lot. I'm obscene, I need not encouragement. This is the courage I got. Got a buzz going, so people heard of me, then I pop. Kinda was going. How you gonna tell me I gotta stop? Start another trend, and if you wanna get in on the ground floor, then what you holding up the wall, standing around for?
Couple of last things. You mentioned earlier that your mother believes in reincarnation. What do you think? You die, and then what?
I do believe that we die and our souls are always connected, forever connected. And I do believe in afterlife. And, you know, my mom, like, she remembers part of her afterlife. And I never doubted that. I never doubted that she saw the light. And I fully believe that I will somehow be connected with all the souls that I've ever loved in all my lifetimes,
Mm.
in this lifetime, forever. I just believe that we are one, just one soul. All of our souls come together and we are one. And that's why connection and love and joy are these like the most important things in life, because that's what it's all about, is staying together and coming back together over and over. And that's just where I'm at, and everyone can have their own opinion.
No, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We're not dictating anybody's opinions about it, and nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
So I always like to ask.
Well, I don't think it's scary at all. I think it's really beautiful. In my eyes, there is no hell. We're not going to hell. We're staying in love and returning over and over until we get it right.
Yeah, I've never seen anything to make me think that it's scary or bad on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So much of what you're doing with your time has to do with legacy. And so the last question we always ask every guest is, how do you want to be remembered? And so as I'm asking you that, I'm asking you, what do you want your daughter to know about you? And what do you want other people to say about you to your daughter?
Oh, wow. I just want to be like sunshine. I just want to light a room up. I love the idea of just being sunny and bright and warm and welcoming. And the main thing is I just want to keep my grace in everything, stay graceful. That doesn't mean not speaking up for myself or others, but remaining graceful and smiling and having that energy about me is the most important thing.
Will you tell me what you mean by grace?
It's hard for me to answer.
It's okay.
Yeah, the way I mean grace is a graceful way of being. So, not the same thing we were talking about, like not getting worked up, not getting into a negative cycle, staying in a graceful, open communication, being able to give and receive gracefully. That's all I've tried to do in this and every relationship, is to remain graceful, even in the hard times.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah. So not reactive, open. Yeah. Okay. For anybody who's listening and hasn't seen this, Caroline has been smiling like the entire time. She's she's definitely like lighting up the room. This has been so good. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with strangers, for being so, like we were talking about, being so vulnerable, so open, graceful, perhaps. I really appreciate you sharing all of what you did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline, for sharing your story. You highlighted, like so many of our guests, the transformative power of facing mortality. It's my hope that, like you, we can all begin to take steps to living more thoughtfully and intentionally. Caroline does great work with a couple of organizations that are dedicated to helping women get the medical care that they need. Information about Caroline's work with Free and Just and Abortion in America can be found in the show notes. Thank you for listening to Dying to Tell You. I know the world can seem chaotic and dark, but as I listen to these stories that invite me to contemplate my own mortality, I'm reminded over and over that life really is beautiful and precious, and that, like my guests, I have an opportunity every day to focus on what's important. May we all take the time to recognize the beauty in the world around us, in our neighbors, and perhaps the most overlooked of all, the beauty that's inside each of us. Please be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. This is Dying to Tell You.